A very good morning to everyone. Thank you all for joining in for today's session. Thank you, Catherine, for giving us this opportunity. My name is Gayatri, and I'm from uLaw. I would be presenting Disbursements Demystified. I think we all had a session 2 weeks prior on everything practice management. Hope that helped with playing around with the program. So today we're going to look into Disbursements Demystified. I know more of your friends are joining in, so I'll kind of start off with an agenda. So I would get about a minute or two when they're joining in. So I am going to keep the presentation very, very short, even though it's a 1 hour length of presentation. I want to do it probably maybe around 20, 25 minutes, at the max to max 20 minutes, maybe. Just look at current guidelines of disbursements. How do we use it? What are the different types of disbursements? How do you manage it? How is it paid? And few things here. And what are you expected to do? We're going to deal with a few of them here theoretically. It might be a little boring, but trust me, these are some important things that you might have to note down, remember, keep in mind, and then we'll quickly jump into uLaw program. I can show you a few examples that we are seeing here, or we're talking about here at least. I hope everyone is hearing me well. I'm just having some sore throat, so in case you're not able to hear me, just please dial into the audio for a better clarity. All right, so the agenda is put out here very clearly. As you all know, we're going to talk about disbursements. What are disbursements, first of all? And how is it handled? Is it completely paid out of trust account or general account? Why not trust? Why only general? How do we expend these? How do we get them reimbursed? So that's what is called disbursements, right? Basically, you're disbursing expenses which are getting reimbursed. So disbursements. So this is how I look at it as disburse plus reimbursements. The reimbursement of disbursed expenses. You can keep it any way you want it, but I just like to understand it as reimbursement of disbursed expenses while you're conducting a matter for a client. Could be billable, could be actuals, could be for travel time, could be for any recovery of expenses like, let's say, court forms, court filing fee, or any other expenses, or any third-party expenses like outsourced work. So what are these disbursements? What are the types of disbursements? How are these being spent? As in, like, how do you generally spend them? From which bank account? Or from cash? How do you record them if it's cash? And what are the expectations of law society when it comes to disbursements? Now, these are what we're going to be seeing today. Now, quickly, as I mentioned, what are disbursements? It's an act of paying out or disbursing money, as I already mentioned, such as, any business or cash expenses or dividend payments, etc. Now, in basic terms or layman's terms, we say expenses incurred for your client by your law office, which are being reimbursed. You need to record it in the books to balance the accounts whenever you spend them. So making sure that you're adding them on your invoice, or you're bringing it up on the upcoming bill and getting it paid. Now, how do you manage them? Of course, you follow the money. When you follow the money, you know that disbursements are being paid out of your general account or your trust account or your business credit card. So follow your money, record when the disbursement was paid, how it was paid, what was the reason, and who is the client. So unlike office expenses, you cannot record these disbursements in a generic manner. They have to be entered in a very specific manner. So the client's name, the matter that the disbursement is related to, needs to be recorded under that. Okay, so every disbursement should be identified as how it is paid, what is the reason, and for whom it has been incurred, and it has to be recorded under the respective client's name and the matter. So that's why if you see in uLaw, there is a disbursements tab specific for every client and matter. You cannot find disbursements in accounts, because in accounts it's more as office expenses, right? They're generic expenses. But if it has to be client-related expense, I mean, you still find client-related expense in accounts, but it's easier when found under the specific matter and disbursements tab. And how do you account for it if you have paid it from general? Mostly if you see lawyers and paralegals don't use trust account to pay their disbursements. They use general, and a portion of the invoice is recorded as disbursements. An invoice is raised, and if the money is in trust, it is moved to general along with the legal fee. You're already going to invoice your client for legal fee for sure. While you're going to invoice them for legal fee, you add a new component for disbursement, and you will show how you're going to recover that in the bill and move the money from trust to general. Or if there is no trust concept in your practice, you will get the money directly into the general account. However, the concept is same. You spend and get reimbursed. When you spend, you're going to follow the money, how you're going to spend it, what is it that you're spending it on, what is the portion that you're going to add to the invoice, right? Sometimes you might want to discount some portion, sometimes you want to add a little bit more as an admin fee to that disbursement portion. So whatever it is, please make sure to record them appropriately to your invoice, complete the invoice, and then recover the expense, either from trust as a trust transfer, or you can move it from trust to general. Either you can move it from trust to general along with your legal fees, or you can directly get it into general as a client pay. Now, how do you spend these? I mean, do you keep a track of each and every printout you take, or each and every photocopies that you do at your office? How do you keep a track of it? First of all, very simple thing to keep in your mind is to follow the money. That's what I always tell my clients. When you follow the money, you can very simply add it into uLaw appropriately. I'll be showing you this example raw. Mostly this is what we're going to be doing in uLaw. If you see, there are certain types of expenses that are made from trust and certain from general cash, other accounts, right? Could be credit card, etc. Now, what is the owner's pocket? You already saw them in a couple of tabs or screen. I want to tell you what is owner's pocket. Now, owner's pocket is if you run a firm and let's say you are having your own credit card. Now, you don't have a business credit card, but you want to use the credit card sometimes to make some purchases so that you can add points. At that time, there's no harm, but you're going to add in the uLaw program as an office expense or a disbursement. Since we're talking about disbursement, let me stick to that. So you'll add it as a disbursement. Let's say you did a courier. You used your personal credit card. You will call it as disbursement, add new disbursements from general cash, other accounts. And you select cash and owner's pocket. Anything that has been paid out of your own pocket is called owner's pocket on behalf of the firm, right? So that's how it works. And recording the amount, including the appropriate taxes, record the method of payment, record the matter and the client, record if the disbursements was paid from bank, credit card, out of personal pocket. These are very common for all of them. You have to make sure that you're recording the exact date, whether with or without taxes, the method of payment, right? How did you expend it, right? Like credit card or debit card or e-transfer or online payment, whatever. All of these tabs are available in the program, by the way, for you to just click on select. And you're recording it under the specific matter and client, whether it was paid by someone else or by you. So all of these needs to be recorded in the general. And if it's from trust, mostly, like I said already, some of the direct and simple expenses or disbursements are done from trust, like court fee. Basically, only actuals are made from trust. There's no question of making profit when you're charging a client a disbursement and saying that you paid from trust. If you're making a disbursement from trust, it has to be for an actual amount that you're charging the client. Let's say $200, we'll be looking into that. You're going to charge your client $200. You cannot say you spent $200 from trust, but you want to charge your client $220. That's not going to happen if you're in trust. That can rather happen if you're doing it from general, because we've given you an option to, charge a different amount from what you've incurred for disbursements from general cash other accounts. So coming back to what is paid from trust, mostly like court fee and other processor fee. When paid from trust, you don't have to recover the expenses because the money is already sitting in trust, right? So you just use what money is in trust. It's not your money. You're just going to show the expense to the client along with the legal fee. At the end of the day, this will just reduce the amount of bookkeeping work you're required to do. Otherwise, there's a lot of hassle, right? Because you're going to keep track of what you're adding into the general account, what you're paying out of general account, what you're adding in the invoice. And once you have added it, you have to remember how much you have to, what is the portion that you have to move from trust to the general. And again, keep track record of that as a Form 9A or any other receipts. So make sure that you keep in mind that you're following these steps if you're doing trust transfer from trust to general. Now, just wanted to check how many slides are there. Sorry, guys. Yeah. The next one here is the types of disbursement. So you know that now there are certain types that you can do from trust. There are certain that you do from general. The Law Society prefers anything that is profit oriented. Like, some people charge clients for photocopies. And those photocopies could have been from your own printer or your copy machine in the office. And you are technically not incurred anything in that, right? So you're only charging your client, but the entire expense is going to be a profit to you. Recovery of expense is a profit to you. So in that case, you can only do that from general. So recovery of expense with profit margin can happen only from general, not from trust. Let's look at it from the top. Any billable can be from both trust and general. Any unit rate, like for example, photocopies, like I said, those are unit rates. And you can do that only from general. Mileage, again, only from general. What if you're really not traveling but you want to claim for it? We don't allow it to happen from the trust account. So because trust is about actuals, hence mileage only from general. Okay. Now, besides that, recovery of expenses on actuals can be both trust and general. Mileage, travel time, all of them are same. Recovery of expenses on actuals, there is no restriction saying that if it's actual, you have to do only from trust. What we say is if it is not actual, you cannot do it from trust. If it is actual disbursement, you can do it from trust or general anywhere. What if there's no money in trust and it's an actual disbursement? You will charge your client as if the disbursement's done from general and recover for the expenses from general. And any recovery of expenses with profit margin, as actually mentioned, is going to be general. No trust in the scenario here. An outsourced consultancy, which is a third party, again, both trust and general, because you are actually going to pay them otherwise, right? But with an outsourced consultancy, with profit margin is only from general. So again, remember the difference. Anything with profit margin, just close your eyes, add new disbursements from general, guys. Anything without profit margin, which is actuals, if money is lying in trust, you can very well use it. Some people still don't prefer to use it. They use general for various reasons. Like I said, they want to use the general credit card or whatever it is, and then transfer the money from trust to general. It all works the same. Okay? So these are the examples and types of disbursements. I'm definitely going to show you at least 4 of these when we are going to do it together, which will cover all of these under those examples. Now, while you're doing these disbursements, what are the ledgers that needs to be reported? Now, in everything practice management, we saw there are quite a few ledgers. In this case, there are 2 ledgers, 4 journals in common. And there's one additional journal specifically for general disbursement journal, any disbursements made from general account. Okay? Now, in this case, we're talking about ledgers. So what are these disbursement ledgers for both trust and general? Making sure that, there's a disbursement out of trust, you're recording it, whether it's a transfer, whether it's a, transfer to general or to pay out of trust. The one on the left-hand side, client's trust ledger, very clearly shows, based on the transaction or the type of the transaction, the particulars can show very clearly whether it's a transfer to general or to someone else. And you can see whether it's a retainer or, in case of real estate transactions or other transactions, maybe other trust deposits, which you will again do other payout or other disbursements. So whatever it is, based on the type of the transaction, it is recorded in the trust ledger. Each ledger also has a running balance and the date matching for it. Likewise, when it comes to general, you get to add in the invoice information, or the invoice information is captured, and you will be able to see that all the transactions with or without taxes are being recorded, and it has been reimbursed by the client when they are paying for it. So if you look at the right-hand side bottom, the client's general account, there's an invoice raised for $100 plus taxes for invoice number 001 on July 2nd. On July 22nd, this invoice is getting paid, hence the balance owed is becoming 0. Make sense? So in these examples, you can very clearly see that there can be different types of disbursements with or without taxes. Could be in trust, could be from general, could be a payout of trust, or could be a transfer from trust. Again, could be one without taxes, with taxes. So we're gonna see again, keeping all of this in mind, a wholesome example when I'm going to walk you through uLaw program. Now, I spoke about ledgers, but last time also we spoke about journals, which again I spoke right now. So last time we saw there are 4 journals. Over here again, we have again 4 journals. We have payments journal, receipt journals, disbursement journals, general receipts and disbursements, trust receipts and trust disbursements. Additionally, we have general disbursements journal over here, right? Okay, so in general disbursement journal, what do we have to make sure it's being recorded? What are we looking at? So during audit time, mostly what they look for is these journals. They're the basic ones. If your journals are something that carries minute information such as check number, if you have dispersed, I want to know who you have dispersed it to. That's why we have paid to. That's why we have the check number or the method of payment, because these are some things that prove that this has been really dispersed, and you have the proof of disbursement as a receipt or, the copy of the check, whatever. So, these are very vital when it's being a disbursement. You need to definitely keep a copy of these in your books, whether you keep them in your drive or in your actual file. It's up to you. But make sure that every tiny disbursement, you keep a copy of it so that when you're being audited, you can always prove that you have really made this disbursement and you've not made up. And if you're making up, it has to be from general. Like, that's the whole idea of giving a disbursement with a profit motive, right? So, yeah. So make sure you have especially the receipts and recorded all the information for disbursements made out of trust, okay? And journals also record all of these, which are the method of payment, the received from or paid to, depending upon whether it's a receipt journal or a disbursement journal, and whether it includes HST or not. All of these are included in there. Now in uLaw, there's something called fee book. Other than disbursements, of course, disbursement journal is something which is very, very, straightforward. You make a disbursement from general account and you see them all under general disbursement journal with or without HST, the method of payment, the reference numbers, the date and particulars, who you paid it to, etc. Now, when you come to fee book, which is another most important document in uLaw and also as per Law Society compliance, the fee book gets to record all fees and disbursement. Okay, so as you see here at the bottom, you will see that there's a date on which the invoice is raised, the invoice number, who you have raised it for, like as in the client name, how much is the fee, whether there were any disbursements billed or is it only legal fee, and HST, which gives you total. Always records invoice numbers so that way you can go back and refer to the invoice and find out which client was billed and what was associated with these taxes, etc. So when you are recording an invoice, very, very important to capture certain details. But if you're using a uLaw program, you don't have to worry about invoice number, etc., the date, invoice number, client. If you're raising it under a respective client, everything else is taken care by the program, right? When you have this fee book generated, it will automatically show up all the date, invoice number, and other details as you're seeing here. Benefits of legal accounting software, as we read last time. I'm not going to go over it. You guys already know it. The ease and compliances that are covered here. Ease of use and compliance is what I feel is the major top reasons. of course, accountability and analytics, and making sure you're getting, paid for all of the expenses that you've incurred. You're not leaving out anything, so that doesn't affect your profit margin. And making sure all the disbursements via general is going to be transferred from trust to general, so that you can add to your profit margin if managed properly. Otherwise, it's going to be, a hassle for you to find out whether it was being reimbursed or not. So make sure from day one, while you're recording dockets, you're also recording the uLaw program. Okay? Let me log into my Playground account to show you all how we can, look at a few disbursement examples. Any questions so far, Catherine? Do you want to ask you? Students, I'm going to anyways walk them all through the examples. All right, I take it as no questions so far. I hope everyone has a uLaw account. Kindly go back and work on it when you can. So that way, you know what, you'll be able to retain the disbursements, that examples that we're going to discuss now. So you're all familiar with adding contacts, from adding client information under contacts, and then adding, opening a matter. So we're all very familiar with that. Let me take the disbursements here, or we can even start a new file in that case. Let's say you're going to add a new client. Client's name is Liam Pablo. You're going to save and matter. I'm going to skip the address part, etc. But yeah, for records, make sure you complete an entire database for a contact or a client. Let's say this was break and open or some criminal matter or potential offenses, like highway traffic acts, put it under criminal. I'm just going to save this file. Now, you all know matter events is where we put in our legal fee, whatever dockets you have worked on, and you will be giving a description and saving it to raise an invoice. Now, while you're doing that, you're on the Disbursements Retainer tab. This is where everything happens for a disbursement, guys. Okay. Now, let me say that we have a new retainer of $500. The retainer amount was provided to you by email transfer. You enter all the details and say Liam Pablo paid. Again, give them a receipt and apply. So you've entered the retainer, you've entered the legal fee. Now I want to jump to disbursements because I want to complete the invoice that I worked on this week. So I'm going to click on Add New Disbursement. Straight away, let's look at a few examples. I incurred something that that was an actual amount, and I want to pay it from trust because Law Society says if it's an actual amount, I can pay from trust. There is no profit motive here. And this is a court fee, filing fee. I might as well do it from uLaw. So with the $100, how did you pay for it? I used probably an electronic fund transfer or a wire transfer or a bank draft, check. There's so many ways. So let's say I used a check, description, filing, defense fee, paid to courthouse, print a check, and payments. So you can also print a check from uLaw. whether it's disbursement or not. All of the information comes up. You can download and print it in your actual check by keeping it in the printer. Now, that's very straightforward. Took you less than a minute to add a new disbursement from trust. And if you see, there's only one option under withdraw from trust. So simple and straightforward. But again, one with too many restrictions, which we saw already. Let me go back to show you this part. You cannot do anything like travel, mileage, unit rate, which is photocopies, recovery of expense with profit margin mainly. You spend $20, you're recovering from your client $30. Nope, not from trust. Please use general for that. You will see why we are using general for that, okay? Now, we've added a straightforward trust. I hope all of you are clear with how to pay from trust. One important thing to keep in mind, if you're paying out of trust, we need to have money in trust, right? Don't go negative in trust. And if you're going to replenish it eventually the same day, but make sure that that doesn't happen. Like, it's not recommended at least. So you're going to use trust only if there's money in trust. Now, if you see the trust receipt on the top right-hand side, there you see projected balance, flat rate, disbursements, trust receipts. It's currently showing $400, even though I received $500, because it's paid out of trust. It's a payout from trust, okay? So hence it's showing $100 reduced. Now let's say I want to add a new disbursement from general. General is a little tricky part. Okay? There are about 5 options. More frequently used are 3 of the first 3 options below. I would even say first 2 options. People like to keep it very precise. I've seen in my experience people mostly using the first 2. And if you're a real estate lawyer, the last one more, prepayment to disbursements, because they have to use whatever you account. I'm not going to confuse you guys too much. I'm going to keep it limited to the first 2 options, because the first option and the third option are pretty much the same. Okay. Let's just take first 2 options. What are the different types of disbursements you can do from disbursements, pay disbursements from general, cash, other accounts? The second one says pay disbursements from general. Okay. General means cash and other accounts also included, guys. Okay. So the second one also is pay disbursements from general, cash, other accounts, but in bracket for actuals, mileages, units. So when you're doing actuals, which is an actual amount that you've spent for, please click on pay disbursements from general, which is actuals. We're going to click on here, say that maybe it's something to do with process server. Costed you about $80. And you're going to charge your client for this. Okay? There's no top, middle, bottom, whatever. There's only one portion where you're entering amount, say with or without taxes. Very important, because this amount that you're charging your client is not only what you're charging your client, but it is also what you've spent for. That is what you're going to report here as an expense. How have you spent for it? Bank. Okay. Which bank? Your general bank or your business credit card? Neither. Okay. Then what? Cash. Remember? Owner's pocket. Did you use your own pocket, like your debit card, your personal credit card, your cash? What did you use? Okay. So appropriately you can do it. Let's say this one was paid out of your business credit card. And process server. Paid to. How did you pay for it? They have a pre-authorized debit, or I made an online payment, or I did a wire transfer, whatever it is. enter the reference number, and save it. So remember, this is billable. Now, if you're doing unit or mileage, you can appropriately change it. Say mileage, and say for 10 kilometers for 0.40, you're charging them $4 plus taxes, of course. Or are you going to report a lesser expense? No, I did not even incur something more. So I'm just leaving it at $4. Okay, so you can report the expense appropriately and do it for mileage. If you're not doing mileage, let's say you're doing unit rate, photocopies, very similar to mileage. Let's say you're printing 100 pages at $1 per unit. So you're going to report an expense. What is the expense amount? If you're not reporting an expense amount, you are going to remove this one here. Okay. You're going to report an expense amount. You're going to enter amount and save it. Okay. So those are the examples for actuals. Now let's leave it at billable. Okay. And I'm going to show the same example, $80 plus taxes. Now, I have chosen bank as report expense, so which means I have paid from my general or business credit card. Save. Now you see disbursements from 0, it will become to 90.40, which is here on the top. I'm highlighting it for you guys. Right hand side where you see projected balance. I hope all of you are seeing that disbursement amount has changed. Now the next one, I'm using the pay disbursements from general cash other accounts. This will look a little different for you all. Okay, so you see that the item name is going to be the same. The top portion is also going to be the same, but the bottom portion is a little different. If you're looking at the bottom portion, there is again a repetitive of the top portion. Only after that you can get to bank and other stuff. Unlike the actuals. In the actuals, it was only the top portion and directly to the bank, right? So here, in general, we have top portion and the bottom portion, after which you have to select either the method of payment, whether, bank or cash or accounts payable, etc. Now, let's say you are going to charge your client for printing or photocopies. You used your office printer, calculated a rough amount of $25, plus taxes $28.25 to be entered in your client's account. Now, how much have you incurred to report an expense? 0, because you used your office printer. Now, many might have a question. If you used your office printer, why should it be 0? I have technically spent for the paper. I have spent for ink. I have spent for my printer. Why not, record that over here? No. When you bought ink and paper from Staples or printer from Best Buy, you've already recorded them as an office expense. Okay? So there's going to be no duplicate of charges here, right? By, again, adding an appropriate or a proportionate amount over here for the report expense part of it. Let's say I use 20 pages. So I proportionately charge for 20 pages over here. No, that's not how it works. So you only charge your client for the photocopies that you've spent. You don't report any expense if you have used your own printer. Basically, report expense means you have to follow the money. Remember the word I used, saying follow your money. But there's no money that went out here, right? So there's nothing to follow here. So you leave the bottom portion blank. So the bottom portion goes blank, and then you will be able to see this. Okay, I'm going to go back in there. And save it. Right now, you're going to see photocopies as a disbursement. There's no expense reported. I'll show you how this looks different when you go to accounts. Okay. So when you go to accounts, when you go to general account, you will see that there is only one disbursement for today's date, which is the process server 90.40, because only that you have paid out of your business credit card, I assume. Here, business credit card, process server, the 23rd. But there's nothing that you used or photocopy. So in that case, you're going to just record it under the general disbursement. If you download a general disbursement journal, you will see under compliance and monthly compliance in accounts, there's something called general disbursement. Let's download general disbursement journal for today's date. You will see that it has only one of it, which is 90.40. There's nothing for 28.25 because there was nothing reported. You have only charged your client. Okay. This is what it is. And you can go back in here. Let's say you have more disbursements to play around with, and you're paying third-party consultancy. In this case, you're going to add outsourced or work outsourced, or just put it down here saying as maybe translation or translator, could be around $110 plus taxes, but you're only incurring about $75 plus taxes. So again, there's a profit portion here if you see it very clearly. And you've paid it from general to email transfer. If you have Interact email transfer or something over here, you can choose that as to a third party and save it. Now you keep seeing on the right hand side, your trust receipt has not changed after you withdraw the $100. It is at $400. And the disbursements has increased, which has 28.25, 80 plus taxes, 90.40. Right now, the 110 plus 14.30, 110.5.30. All put together, the 242.95 is showing up right here. Now, if I go and raise an invoice, you will see how it looks. You will see that both dockets and disbursements are going to be invoiced. It's going to be invoiced for an amount of $565 as legal fee, with the disbursements here very clearly. 3 disbursements has been added: process server, photocopies, and translator. Now, process server, photocopy, and translator are from general. That's why it's saying disbursements over here. Anything made as a disbursement from trust will be directly paid out of trust. Hence, it's under trust payouts. Just for an ease of it. What money came into trust? 500. What money went out so far? 100. What is remaining in trust? 400. Now, if you go to the bottom most, you will know that your total billable plus taxes, your legal fee 500 plus 65, 565. The total billable disbursements, 215 plus taxes, 242.95. We've already taken out 100, so remaining is 400. And beyond 400, you need to 407.95 from the client. Okay. So now if you go back, you can always click on question mark and, of course, complete the invoice. You can click on question mark, accept the money into the general account. Since you're done with the work, you can directly bring the money into the general account. Whatever is lying in the trust, it is your money now. You can make it yours. by clicking on transfer. Of course, you're going to do that in the bank first and then come back into uLaw and do it. Simply clicking on question mark, transfer what you're supposed to transfer in the bank, then in uLaw, because only if you do it in the bank, you will get a reference number. You can add that reference number in here, complete the transfer, download Form 9A. This is what we saw last time while we were doing everything practice management. Form 9A is for electronic trust transfer. Every time you move money from trust to general electronically, you can download this form. Go back into matter, you still try to use 407.95. Click on question mark, accept the payment. Okay. Enter the reference number. Say Leanne Pablo paid you this. You're going to give them a receipt and apply. So right now you're done charging your client for legal fee, disbursements. We saw different types of disbursements: paid from trust, paid from general, but when it's actual, and then third-party consultancy. Miscellaneous and paid from general are typically the same. It's just the category that you're going to put them under. You can see it is just literally the same, but when it's under miscellaneous expense, you know that it's not something that is just straightforward into going into the ledger that is for the respective ones, but it can be for miscellaneous expense. Only that is the difference here. And prepayment to disbursement is if you have any prepaid account. Like I said, if you're mostly this is used by real estate lawyers, but let's say you have a prepaid account with a process server also, you can enter the expense. Instead of bank, you're going to choose the prepaid account that you have paid the money into, and you're going to use that. That's it. It's just a deposit account from which you're removing money, but other procedure is all the same. Now, if you go into accounts and compliance and try to download the compliance, general disbursement, today's date, you will see all the disbursements except one that did not touch the general account. So these are the two that are captured under the general account. And the one under the trust, let's maybe try it at client's trust for today's date and download it. You will see the $100 as withdrawn amount over here. Disbursement, other payout for filing difference fee, $100. Okay? And of course, client's trust will have everything else. The money he paid, the money you transferred from trust to general, everything is over here. But the $100 disbursement payout is right here on the top. Besides that, if you go to client's general for today's date, you will see all the general disbursement and the money that came from trust to general, everything here, right? So your legal fee, the disbursements, the money that came from trust to general, and the money that directly came into general. This is client's general ledger. Difference between general ledger and general journal is that journal is more specific to just receipt or payment, and ledger has both of it. That's the only difference. Of course, like the way it looks. I also want to show you guys fee book. Now, fee book is something that we saw in the presentation as well, right? So the fee book is something that has both legal fee and disbursement billed with HST or without HST. So we're going to go back here. This is the fee book I just downloaded for just today's date. I'm not going back and showcasing you the entire thing, just for today's date, because we only did lay and payable today so far in this account. You can see the legal fee as well as the disbursements billed. So you have the disbursements here and the legal fee here. Okay. I will also give you a little bit of analytics, of course. When you go back in here, there's one more thing, which is called an expense book. Remember the bottom portion of disbursement that we recorded saying expense made? I think for 2 items. Which one was process over the 80 plus taxes, I think 90.40. And the other one was, I think for the translator fee for about $75 plus taxes, the bottom portion. The top portion was, I think, 100 or 110 plus taxes. So the bottom portion is called report your expense. When you report your expense, right, you tend to record that in the expense book. Okay, just download this. So here you see the 2 of them that we reported as expense is seen right here. Okay. All right. So that's probably what I wanted to show you guys today. Any questions from anyone? I can definitely walk. Okay. I already have questions. Yes, Sonia, this is being recorded. I will share the link with Catherine. I understand it's a lot, but the best way to learn disbursement is to click on help, and there's so many of these videos under help. Under search uLaw answers, there's something called disbursements. There's something for disbursements that can be added. So you can take a look at that. So that way, you know what, you are going to be able to do disbursements much better. So if you look at it, it says how to raise invoice, how to input disbursements. I can, along with the link, I can also share a few useful videos for you all to check. And how do you do auto billable? All right, auto billable is not a part of disbursements, but I can, since we're on the call, I can show you. So auto billable is for matter events. When you're billing some time, the left-hand side is called duration, and the right-hand side is sometimes flat rate, sometimes billable time, depending upon what your account is showing. So you can always drop down on this and change it, right? So let's say yours is looking like this. When you add an event, by default at 30 minutes, there's a billable time, there's something blank on the right-hand side. So duration is what you're taking time for this entire event. So say you had a phone call with the client, right? When you had the phone call with your client, it's probably for about 12 minutes. Now you want to charge your client for exactly the same time. You don't want to repeat adding this again. So by going in here, doing all this. Instead, you just click on this drop down and say autofill billable, and whatever is on the left-hand side as the duration will come up on the right-hand side as a billable time. I hope that makes sense. Or autofill billable. Catherine, any questions from your class? I'll be happy to take it. I have another 5 to 7 minutes or 8 minutes. So please go ahead. Yeah, I have muted Sonia because the recording is on. I just don't want it to be disturbed by many people for the background noise. You could put it on the chat here so I can take it from here. All right, Catherine, thank you. I hope all of your students have uLaw account. If they don't, please ask them to register using the EDU link after purchasing it online from the bookstore. Make sure you have the access code handy once you purchase at the bookstore. And please use EDU link and please use DC mail, not your personal Gmail or Yahoo Mail. Okay, so we've been having some trouble with people registering of late. Please make sure that you all can do that. Sure, I can check. I don't think I'm going to check on that, Catherine, the recording links. I thought I sent, let me double check, okay? I'm going to double check on that when I send this. Probably tomorrow I can consolidate for all 6 classes and send it to you with the date and time, of course. All right, if any other questions, feel free to put it down here. I have 5 more minutes. You want to ask anything, it's not necessarily disbursements also, but unfortunately I have only 5 minutes. And I request all of you, these webinars can be overwhelming. I'm not denying that fact. It could be overwhelming, too much information in 1 hour, not possible for you all to kind of remember, right? So for that reason, I always recommend people to access help, tutorials, uLaw answers, user guide, compliance guide. So use our YouTube channel mainly. Subscribe to uLawPractice. There's a subscribe option here. You go to uLawPractice. I can give you the link for this uLawPractice. So please, uLawPractice is what it is. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that way, you know what, you're able to look at all these videos, right? I'm also giving you the link that you can click on. So you can just have to go in to click on that link and it'll open up our YouTube channel. And it has plenty of videos that would help you. Recently uploaded popular playlist. The playlist is so helpful if you want to learn about disbursements. Let's say you just type in the search bar saying disbursements. Okay, there's one video that I really like for disbursements, which I can share when I'm sending you the details. So please try to handle this very often. You can enter all of them, your keywords, and use this YouTube channel. Yeah, we have a lot of tutorials for any question you might have there. There are about 500 odd videos. So I think 4 days ago we hit 500. That's nice to know. Yeah, so there's going to be plenty of these videos that are going to be helpful for you guys. They are mostly helpful for your learning purposes. So I recommend you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And there's also Chrome extension with uLaw EDU. So you can add that to your toolbox and go on from there, okay? I thank you all for joining in for today's session, and it was a pleasure walking you all through it. Hoping to see many of you come back and join as new entrepreneurs or as assistants, or you would be having. Oh yeah, we wish we could do, but I think post-COVID, it's just been all virtual. Maybe sometime in future, we would love to come in and do an in-class training session, but I am sure this, except that we couldn't see each other, everything else would have remained the same way, whether I did in class or virtually over here. Thank you all. Have a lovely day. Talk to you all soon. Take care. Have a nice day.